Good morning and happy Thanksgiving week to all of you. Welcome to the Self-Talk Sherpa Show, my weekly live stream every Monday at 9:30. Well, for now anyway, that could change in the future, but keep checking back here every Monday. And I will have a card to draw at the end for anyone who would like. I do some intuitive card readings with these archetype cards or my interactive cards. Okay, so it's one of my favorite holidays this week, Thanksgiving. I'm so excited. I love getting together with family and eating delicious food and just feeling so much gratitude for so many blessings in life. Oh, somebody just gave me a heart. Reach out in the comments and say hi so I know who you are. Thank you for joining me today. So, as I've thought about gratitude this morning, oh, it's Lynn, hello. I read something really amazing from David Whyte in his book, Consolations. He has an essay on gratitude. And it really made me think about what place inside of ourselves we're inhabiting when we are feeling grateful, when we are feeling so much gratitude that we are moved to express thanks or thanksgiving. And it's a combination of a few different factors. In order to get to that place of gratitude, you have to embody your inner witness at the same time as you're fully participating and being present in your life. So it's not an easy feat to be in both of these modes at the same time, because sometimes we're so fully participating in our life that we're not thinking about how much we're enjoying the experience. We're just in the experience, right? But in order to feel gratitude, we have to have a part of us that's watching ourselves go through our experience. And that is at a distance from the part of us that's in the moment. So we have to both be super present in the moment enough to fully get the harvest of that experience, while at the same time acknowledging the witness that is observing this experience from a more removed place. Does that make sense? I think David Whyte explains it much better. So I'm going to read just a little bit of this essay, not the whole thing. He says, gratitude is not a passive response to something we have been given. Gratitude arises from paying attention, from being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. From being awake in the presence of everything that lives within and without us. Gratitude is not necessarily something that is shown after the event. It is the deep, a priori state of attention that shows we understand and are equal to the gifted nature of life. So the truest feelings of gratitude I've felt have been while in the moment itself. When you express gratitude after something happens, it's a little bit removed. You're not feeling the full feelings of that experience. But when you are expressing in the moment that you're feeling everything you're feeling, when you're expressing gratitude from that place, it expands your experience. So have you ever, I can't remember this quote exactly, but have you ever heard a quote somewhere along the lines of expressing gratitude for a gift actually expands the value of the gift? It's something like that. If any of you know what that actual quote is, I would love to have it. But when we express gratitude for something, it's not for the benefit. It can benefit the giver of the gift, and it does. But the true value for expressing gratitude for that gift is it expands the value of that gift inside of us. So as we express gratitude for it, it actually helps us. It gives us the full revelation of just how valuable this gift is, because as we express the gratitude, the feelings of joy and expansiveness swell up and expand our souls, right? And then as we experience what's happening inside of us, as we express our gratitude, we can't deny just how good of a gift we've been given, because our body has given us proof of the value, right? And so anytime we can express gratitude for our partner or any opportunity that we have in life, anytime we can express gratitude for that, it actually helps us see more value in it. And it makes it such a bigger gift in our mind and in our heart than we originally saw, than we allowed ourselves to acknowledge before, if that makes sense. So it shows that we understand and are equal to the gifted nature of life. Don't you love that? The gifted nature of life. That everything is a gift. Even life itself. And we can only understand that when we're paying deep attention to our lives. Okay. And then he talks about being participant and witness all at the same time. Thankfulness finds its full measure in generosity of presence, both through participation and witness. We sit at the table as part of every other person's world while making our own world without will or effort. This is what is extraordinary and gifted. This is the essence of gratefulness, seeing to the heart of privilege. This is the essence of gratefulness, seeing to the heart of privilege. Thanksgiving happens when our sense of presence meets all other presences. Being unappreciative might mean we are simply not paying attention. So that's been my experience. Whenever I haven't appreciated something, I haven't paid enough attention to what's really going on, to what a gift the experience really is. And paying attention is something that is getting more and more difficult in our culture, I believe, because there are so many more distractions than there ever were before. And our attention span is more crippled than it's ever been at any other time in history. People used to be able to pay attention to a 3-hour-long discourse, right? And now people can't even pay attention to a 3-minute video. It has to be 30 seconds, right? And sometimes they even click off of it in the first 3 seconds, because our ability to pay attention has been damaged by just the sheer amount of stimulation going on in the world. And so we have to actually retrain ourselves to pay attention, to pay deep attention to life. It's not, excuse me, it's just not naturally there anymore like it used to be. And I think that any spiritual practice is training us to pay attention. My spiritual practice is poetry and memorizing it and reciting it. And I have to pay so much attention in order to commit a poem to memory. I have to block out all the distractions, and I have to really, really, really get it deep in my heart. No, I'm not coming down with something. I don't know why I have this. I don't know why I have this lump in my throat. Today, I think I put too much lemon and ginger in my tea, and it's actually making it, I think my tea is actually making it worse today instead of better, because it's just so strong. So, okay, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, spiritual practice. I think every spiritual practice is teaching us to pay attention, because when we pay attention, that's when we can inhabit gratitude and connect with our higher power. So when we're taught to study scriptures or pray, that's paying attention. But there's so many more spiritual practices than that, right? For some people, like, cooking is a spiritual practice because of the way that they're paying attention to the way the ingredients come together. Yoga is a spiritual practice, and obviously that trains your mind to pay attention. When I do hot yoga, I can't pay attention to anything else because it's so intense and I'm so in the moment that it's all I can do to just focus on that pose, right? And just hold that pose with that heat and humidity, and it's really not easy. Meditation is obviously a spiritual practice that teaches you to pay deep attention to your breath. What other kinds of spiritual practices are you involved in? Just put them in the comments, even if you're watching the replay. What is a spiritual practice to you? And maybe it doesn't seem like it would be a spiritual practice to other people. I think athletes go into their sport with a certain amount of it's spiritual to them in a way. Like people who run long distances, it causes them to pay really deep attention to their body and their experience. I know I have friends who snowboard, and they say it's a spiritual experience, snowboarding, because they're so in the flow and so in the moment, right? So what's a spiritual practice for you? And what is it? Put it in the comments. And what is it causing you to pay attention to on a deep, deep level? So yeah, I love what David Whyte says about how thankfulness finds its full measure in generosity of presence, both through participation and witness. So this Thanksgiving, oh hey Andrew, I was just reading from this book, Andrew, and you missed it. You'll have to go back and listen, because I know you love this book too. So this Thanksgiving, my call to action for you is to pay deep attention to your life, and while participating in it. See if you can, when you're with your friends and family, see if you can inhabit that full participation and presence as you're with them, and at the same time allow your witness to have an inner monologue as to just how gifted you are in your life, to have these friends, to have this family, to have this wonderful food, to be alive in your body, for all the things you're feeling. Allow the witness to acknowledge what you're experiencing in the moment when you're experiencing it, and see how that expands your sense of gratitude for your experiences this week. Okay, is there anyone who would like a card draw today? So you obviously have to be live for this. So if you're watching the replay, make sure you come back live next week, Monday at 9:30, so you can get that card draw. And so is there anyone who would like to volunteer? Also, I have an awesome deal for you. I've got some Rejuvenate You tickets. That's my event coming up in March 7th through 9th that I'm helping sponsor, so I'll be on the main stage talking about the inner critic. And this event is so powerful, to be connected with hundreds of like-minded people, and you'll be able to get answers to your questions on a wide variety of topics with health and wealth and relationships. And there are so many experts that are going to be here sharing their expertise and facilitating processes with you. It's not the kind of thing where you just sit there and take notes. You're going to actually be doing personal development processes with every single speaker. And so it's going to be really, really powerful. So I've got tickets for that, but I'm also throwing in, if you get your ticket through me, I'm also throwing in an NLP 2-hour process with me. So if any of you have done this process with me, we go really deep into your pattern cycle, and we find out where that cycle could have originated in your childhood, and we go through it, reparenting that child, making a different choice, and re-scripting the emotions and the beliefs and your identity. Yeah, 2 hours. Yes, it is a great value, and it's a $333 value. But if you get a Rejuvenate You ticket, which is $297, then I will throw in that process for you complimentarily. So because I really want you to come to Rejuvenate You, and if you are able to get that clear and deep on your pattern cycle before that experience, it's pulling the slingshot back, and you're just going to fly so far when you go to Rejuvenate You, and you're going to get so much more value out of it. Having gotten that clarity on what's going on inside of you. And as you take that to the event, it's just going to expand your experience. So that's what I'm offering. And for anyone who's not able to go to the event, reach out to me in DMs. I will work out some sort of a deal with you to get the NLP process by itself. But yeah, $297 for both of those is a steal. It's a screaming deal. So I hope you'll take me up on that. And let's get to the card draw. Is there anyone else who wants to volunteer while I am drawing for Lynn? Lynn, what would you like? I know you're familiar with these decks. What would you like for your card draw today? All right, and what are your plans for Thanksgiving? Let me know in the comments. Are you getting together with family? Are you traveling? What is your tradition? 3 archetype cards, okay. And is there anything unusual that you do for your Thanksgiving tradition that may not be something that other people do? One year we went to visit my brother in Idaho, and we had Chinese hot pot for Thanksgiving dinner. No turkey, no stuffing, no mashed potatoes, but it was so delicious. Have you guys ever had Chinese hot pot? It is so good. It's really spicy. It doesn't have to be that spicy. You can throw in all sorts of different kinds of fish and beef and chicken and vegetables, and it's just so good. Mushrooms and okay. One more shuffle. Lynn says, my family is going to take food to my mom's house. Awesome. Where does your mom live? She lives close by. Okay. All right, Lynn, set your intention that the cards we draw will give you the awareness that you need. Okay. I'll just draw all 3 of them first. Okay, one fell on the floor. When cards fall on the floor, that is kind of a sign that you need that one. Okay, 3 cards you got: Servant, God, and Artist. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, Servant card. The light attribute is delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. And the shadow of the servant, using the lack of money as an excuse not to move forward in life. So a servant is traditionally someone who lives in poverty and low status, right? And so sometimes people stay stuck in servant mode because they don't see their own value enough to rise up out of that. You've never gotten any of these cards before? That's super interesting, because I know you have this deck, right? And so have you ever used lack of money as an excuse to not move forward in life? I have used that excuse so many times. And I think there's a lot of light workers and coaches and healers who get stuck in servant mode. Oh, I'm just here to serve other people. And we don't step into our power because we're like, oh, well, I don't want to charge people because I want to serve them, right? And sometimes that's actually an excuse because we're afraid to step into our power. So I don't know if that's going on with you, but the light attribute of the servant is delightful. Delight in serving others with a free and loving heart. Okay, the next one you got. I have used that excuse regularly and am comfortable in servant mode. Yes, it's comfortable, right? Because when you're in servant mode, it's not scary. You don't have to step into anything unknown, or it's just, you get used to being in that mode and someone else being your authority, right? When you step out of servant mode, you have to become your own authority, and it can be scary, right? Okay, God. This is God as an attribute, not God as in your higher power of the universe. This is the part inside of you, that has these attributes. Okay, so the light attribute of the God archetype: benevolence and compassion, recognizing the eternal force within yourself and others. So it's this masculine part that loves structure, that uses structure to serve, and has this great compassion and benevolence toward your fellow men. Now, there is a shadow of the God archetype, and it's a bad one, right? The more powerful the archetype, the more powerful the more powerful this flavor of power, the worse the shadow archetype is, right? So despotism and cruelty, using power to control people. So the shadow side of this, have you ever heard of the God complex? So when people it's never used in a good way. When someone says the God complex, they're referring to this shadow attribute of using power to control people and having this tyrannical, cruel, despot way of showing up, right? And so when we have this much benevolence and compassion, but also this much power, we have to be really careful, because sometimes we think we know what's best for people, but we can't possibly know what's best for any other person except ourselves. So we have to keep this one in check to keep from going to the shadow attribute, which is really, really bad on that one. Okay, and the third one is the artist. Now, the starving artist is another archetype. So there's the healthy artist, the creative, innovative part of ourselves. But then the starving artist is the shadow, posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. So that's kind of similar to the servant, in that it's taking this low status position as an excuse not to step into your full power. Yeah, it's interesting that you drew the goddess today, and then I drew the god card for you. Very, very interesting. And those two are very different from each other. So another shadow of the artist is using talent as an excuse to mistreat others. Have you seen this with famous people? Like rock stars who are complete jerks, movie stars who just act like they're better than everyone. So sometimes the artists get so talented that they mistreat others, like those cooking shows with like Gordon Ramsay, those cooking shows where he's such a good cook, or Simon Cowell on American Idol, or where they use that to mistreat others, to put them down because they're not as talented. So that can be a shadow of the artist as well. But the light attributes of this one: expressing a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses, inspiring others to see life symbolically. Wonderful, wonderful artist qualities. I know, Lynn, that you are an artist yourself, which is really cool that this card came up with these other two, where you can use your art to serve, but just being careful not to go into that God complex, right? So I think the combination of these three together is super interesting. What meaning did you get from that? It is 10 o'clock and we are out of time, but you can definitely still put it in the comments. Okay, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving on Thursday. Remember to inhabit your witness at the same time you're paying deep attention to your experience and fully participating in it. And then come back and let me know if you try that as a spiritual practice. Come back and let me know what that did for your sense of gratitude, and if you found it expanding your experience. Lynn says, I listened to a recording from an event called Royalty and Romance this morning. I think putting focus on my marital relationship and drawing those cards is related. Oh, interesting. So I didn't even think about these cards in a marriage relationship, but that makes sense. And it's interesting with Christ. Christ has all the archetypes, but he was definitely the servant. At the same time, he was being God and also being an artist. So anyway, interesting thoughts. All right, I will see you next Monday. Goodbye. Happy Thanksgiving.